The average American household wastes over $3,000 a year on things they never use, food they never eat, and subscriptions they forgot they signed up for. Meanwhile, the average Japanese household saves over 25% of their income, year after year, while living in some of the most expensive cities on Earth. This isn't about earning more money. It's about a completely different relationship with spending, one I decided to test for 30 straight days. I tracked every dollar before and after. My savings rate didn't just improve. It doubled, and it had almost nothing to do with cutting out coffee or canceling Netflix. These are the 25 Japanese frugal living habits I adopted, ranked from the ones that saved me pocket change to the ones that fundamentally rewired my brain. Some of these are so simple, they'll shock you. Others are so genius, you'll wonder why no one ever told you. Number 25. They treat every yen like a vote. In Japan, there's a quiet cultural understanding that every single yen you spend is a vote for the kind of world you want to live in. It sounds philosophical, but it's intensely practical. Before buying anything, even a pack of gum, a Japanese friend of mine pauses for half a second and asks herself if this purchase aligns with her values. Does she want to support this company? Does she want more plastic in the world? Does she actually need this, or is she just bored? I started doing this on day one. I didn't change any spending rules yet. I just asked the question, and I immediately noticed that about a third of the things I reached for, I put back. Not because I was depriving myself, but because I realized I didn't actually want to cast my vote for that thing. It felt less like budgeting and more like voting with my wallet. The first week, I saved $47 without feeling a single pang of sacrifice. I remember standing in the drugstore aisle with a bottle of body wash in my hand, some neon-colored gel in a plastic bottle that would sit in my shower for a month, and then in a landfill for 1,000 years. I asked myself if I wanted to vote for that. I put it back. I bought a simple bar of soap, wrapped in paper instead. It cost less and the vote felt clean. Try it tomorrow. Before you swipe your card, just pause and ask, what am I voting for? You'll be surprised how often your hand pulls back, how often the answer is a quiet, honest, nothing I believe in. That half-second pause is a door into a completely different way of relating to your own money. You stop being a consumer and start being a citizen of your own life. Number 24. They embrace the 1-month rule. Japanese households have a brilliantly simple system for impulse purchases. It's called the 1-month rule. You see something you want but don't need. You write it down on a sticky note with the date and the price. You stick it on your fridge. If you still want it 30 days later, you can buy it. My fridge looked ridiculous by day 5. A fancy Japanese kitchen knife with a Damascus steel blade. A pair of selvedge denim jeans I convinced myself would change my entire aesthetic. A smart speaker I absolutely did not need, but whose minimalist design I admired. A ceramic pour-over coffee dripper that promised to elevate my morning routine into something sacred. The sticky notes formed a little mosaic of my consumer desires, a gallery of things I thought would make me happier. But here's what happened. By day 10, I had already lost interest in half the items. The urgent, burning desire to own them had cooled to a mild curiosity, then to indifference. By day 20, I looked at the coffee dripper note and laughed. I don't even like pour-over coffee. I just like the idea of being the kind of person who makes pour-over coffee. By day 30, I only bought one thing from the entire list, and even that I found used for half the price. The rule works because it separates genuine desire from dopamine hits. Most of what we buy for the rush of buying, not the thing itself. The anticipation, the clicking of the purchase button, the arrival of the package, that's the real product. The object is almost incidental. A 2023 study from the University of Tokyo's Institute of Social Science found that introducing even a 2-week delay between desire and purchase reduced overall spending by 18%, without any reported decrease in life satisfaction. The delay kills the impulse, but preserves the joy of thoughtful purchases. My savings from this single habit over 30 days came to $112. But the real number is higher, because I also saved myself the subtle psychic weight of owning more things I didn't truly want. More clutter to manage, more objects to eventually feel guilty about discarding. The 1-month rule doesn't just save money. It saves attention. It saves space. It saves you from becoming a warehouse for your own passing whims. Number 23. They use cash like a sacred ritual. Japan is a famously cash-based society, and it's not because they're behind on technology. It's because cash hurts. Neuroscientists have repeatedly shown that handing over physical bills activates the pain centers in your brain, the insula specifically, in a way that swiping a card or tapping a phone simply does not. When you pay with cash, you feel the loss. The transaction registers as a genuine parting, a small grief. Plastic numbs that grief. It abstracts the exchange into a frictionless blur, which is exactly what credit card companies want. I withdrew my weekly budget in cash on Monday morning and left my cards at home, tucked into a drawer in my bedroom. I divided the bills into envelopes, one for groceries, one for gas, one for miscellaneous. The first time I had to peel off 5 20s for groceries, I physically winced. I watched the stack in the envelope shrink from thick to thin over the course of the week. I started putting things back on the shelf. I started comparing prices between brands. I started asking myself if I really needed that artisanal cheese, or if the block of cheddar would taste just as good melted into my eggs. By the end of the month, my grocery bill had dropped by 22%, and I was eating better because I was planning meals more carefully. The ritual of counting out bills, receiving change, and tucking it away creates a mindfulness around spending that plastic annihilates. There is a weight to cash, a texture, a smell. It has presence. When you hand a $20 bill to a cashier, you are giving them a physical piece of your labor, a token of the hours you worked. When you tap a phone, you're giving them nothing. It feels like nothing. And so you spend nothing over and over until the nothing adds up to something devastating. If you want to save money immediately, go to the ATM on Sunday. Withdraw your spending money for the week and leave the cards in a drawer. Feel the money in your hands. Let it be real. Let the loss be felt. It will change everything. Number 22. They practice mottainai with everything. Mottainai is a Japanese word that roughly translates to what a waste, or too good to waste. But it carries a deeper, almost spiritual weight. It expresses a sense of regret over the improper use of something's intrinsic value. It is the feeling you get when you see a perfectly good piece of fruit thrown away, or a tool left to rust, or a talent left undeveloped. The object itself is owed a full life. In Japanese homes, this means squeezing every last bit of usefulness out of every object before letting it go. I visited a friend in Osaka whose grandmother would wash and dry plastic wrap to reuse it. She would turn worn-out yukata robes into cleaning cloths, then into floor rags, then into garden ties, each iteration a dignified new chapter in the life of the fabric. Nothing was thrown away until it was utterly, completely used up, until it had given every last bit of service it could offer. I applied this to my own life. I started using the last bit of soap by pressing the sliver onto the new bar, watching them fuse together overnight into a single whole. I started cooking vegetable scraps, onion skins, carrot tops, celery ends, into stock before composting them, extracting one more meal from ingredients I used to throw away. I mended a torn shirt instead of replacing it, the stitches a little crooked but the shirt still warm and familiar on my shoulders. I sharpened a dull kitchen knife instead of buying a new one. I patched a bicycle inner tube instead of ordering a replacement. Each act felt small, almost insignificant. But collectively, I stopped buying replacements for things I could still use. The cumulative savings over a year, when you stop buying new versions of things you already own, is easily hundreds of dollars. But the deeper shift was in my relationship to my possessions. I started seeing them not as disposable conveniences, but as partners in my daily life, worthy of care and maintenance. Mottainai is not about being cheap. It's about honoring the resources, the labor, and the materials that went into making the things that serve you. Number 21. They shop with a list and a full stomach. This sounds almost insultingly simple. But Japanese homemakers rarely enter a supermarket without a precise list and a recently eaten meal. There's a famous Japanese saying, "Never go to the market when you're hungry, or you'll buy the whole store." It's practically a national proverb, passed down through generations. A 2022 study from Kyoto Prefectural University found that shoppers who entered a grocery store hungry spent 31% more than those who had eaten, and they purchased a significantly higher proportion of processed, high-calorie foods. The hungry brain is a primitive brain. It scans for calorie density, for immediate energy, for salt and fat and sugar. It doesn't care about your budget or your health goals. It just wants to survive the perceived famine. I started shopping only after lunch on Sundays, list in hand, and I treated that list like a sacred contract. I wrote it on Saturday evening, after reviewing what I already had in the fridge and pantry, planning meals for the week ahead. If it wasn't on the list, it didn't go in the cart. No exceptions, no negotiations, no little treats. The first week, I caught myself reaching for a bag of imported crackers 3 times. Each time I looked at my list, saw no crackers, and pulled my hand back. The crackers were not on the list because I did not need crackers. I wanted crackers because they were shiny and salty, and my brain remembered that crackers feel good to eat. The grocery bill that week was $68. The week before, without the list, it had been $94. The discipline felt rigid at first, almost punitive. Then it felt liberating. I was no longer negotiating with myself in the snack aisle. I was no longer standing in front of the cereal boxes for 5 minutes, paralyzed by choice. The list made the decisions for me. I just had to follow it. My job was not to want things. My job was to push the cart and read the paper. The simplicity was a relief. Number 20. They celebrate yatsu, the intentional treat. The Japanese concept of yatsu is a small, scheduled afternoon snack, often around 3 p.m., and it is treated as a genuine ritual rather than a constant grazing session. There is no shame attached to it. It is not a guilty pleasure or a cheat or a failure of willpower. It is a deliberate, anticipated pleasure, a punctuation mark in the day. I used to snack mindlessly throughout the day, a handful of almonds here, a granola bar there, a pastry from the break room that someone brought in, a few crackers while I waited for dinner to cook. I had no idea how much I was spending on these unconscious calories. They didn't register as purchases because they were already in the pantry, already in the office kitchen, already in my hand before I thought about whether I wanted them. When I switched to one beautiful, intentional yatsu each afternoon, a small slice of good cake from the bakery down the street, a single high-quality mochi wrapped in a cherry leaf, a piece of fruit eaten slowly while looking out the window, my snacking expenses plummeted. I was spending $5 a week on a single excellent treat, instead of $30 a week on a dozen mediocre ones. The paradox is that by allowing myself a planned indulgence, I eliminated the constant low-grade desire for more. The ritual satisfied something deeper than hunger. It satisfied the need for a pause, for a moment of beauty, for a small ceremony in the middle of an ordinary day. The cheap granola bar never did that. It just filled a hole. The Yatsu filled me. I saved roughly $100 over the month on snacks alone. But I also stopped feeling vaguely guilty all afternoon, which is a kind of savings no ledger can capture. Number 19. They air dry everything. Japanese homes rarely have massive electric dryers. Laundry is hung on poles, often on balconies or in dedicated drying rooms with good ventilation. Sunlight is free. Electricity is not. I strung a simple clothesline across my laundry room, a $6 cord from the hardware store, and stopped using the dryer for an entire month. The first thing I noticed was that my clothes smelled incredible. Like sunlight and wind, a scent no dryer sheet can replicate. It's the smell of spring mornings, of picnics, of sheets that have been hanging in a breeze. The second thing I noticed was my electricity bill. It dropped by $34 in a single month. The third thing I noticed was that my clothes lasted longer. Dryers destroy fabric fibers with heat and tumbling. All that lint you pull out of the filter, that's your clothes slowly disintegrating. Air drying is gentler. My t-shirts didn't pill. My towels stayed fluffy instead of turning stiff and thin. My jeans didn't fade into that sad, washed-out gray. I was extending the life of my wardrobe while saving money on both electricity and replacement clothing. The average American household spends about $100 a year just running a clothes dryer. That's before you factor in the cost of clothes that wear out faster, the dryer sheets you keep buying, the energy wasted heating a metal drum to tumble wet fabric. This habit is so simple, so ancient, and so immediately rewarding that I will never go back. There is something meditative about hanging clothes, shaking out each shirt, clipping it to the line, arranging the socks in pairs. It slows you down. It connects you to the weather, to the sun, to the rhythm of the day. The dryer was a convenience I didn't realize was costing me in so many invisible ways. Number 18. They keep a kakeibo, a handwritten spending journal. In 1904, a Japanese woman named Hane Motoko invented the kakeibo, a household finance ledger designed to make spending conscious. She was Japan's first female journalist, and she understood something profound about money and psychology. Over a century later, millions of Japanese households still use her system. It's not an app, it's not a spreadsheet. It's a notebook where you write down everything you spend by hand, categorized into needs, wants, culture, and unexpected expenses. At the beginning of each month, you set a savings goal. At the end of each week, you review. You sit down with your notebook and you look at where your money went, and you ask yourself honest questions about each line. I bought a simple notebook for $3 at a stationery store, one with a plain cover and lined pages, and started logging every purchase. The act of handwriting each expense, of seeing the numbers accumulate in my own pen strokes, was profoundly uncomfortable. I felt genuine shame writing down the $14 I spent on a sad, soggy sandwich I could have made at home for $2. I felt pride writing down the $0 days, the days when I wanted for nothing and spent nothing. The kakeibo doesn't just track money. It surfaces the emotional patterns behind your spending. By week 3, I had identified that I spent the most money on Wednesday afternoons, when my energy was lowest, when the week felt longest, when my willpower was a frayed thread. I started packing an extra snack for Wednesdays, a little yatsu I could look forward to. The impulse spending stopped. The kakeibo cost me $3 for the notebook. It saved me over $200 in avoidable purchases. But the real gift was self-knowledge. I learned the topography of my own weakness, the specific hours and moods when I was most vulnerable to spending money I didn't have on things I didn't need. You can't defend against an enemy you can't see. The kakeibo made the enemy visible. Number 17. They practice hara hachibu, the 80% rule. On the island of Okinawa, home to some of the longest living humans on Earth, there is a Confucian-inspired practice called hara hachibu. It means eat until you are 80% full. This is not a diet. It is a stopping point. It takes about 20 minutes for your stomach to signal your brain that it's full. If you stop at 80%, by the time the signal arrives, you feel perfectly satisfied, not stuffed, not bloated, not reaching for the antacids. The financial implication is immediate. You eat less food, your grocery bill shrinks, your restaurant portions become 2 meals instead of 1. You buy fewer antacids, less medication, fewer supplements to manage the consequences of overeating. I started putting my fork down between bites. I chewed more slowly, actually tasting my food instead of inhaling it. I stopped when I felt the first whisper of fullness, not when my plate was clean, not when the show I was watching was over, not when the bag of chips was empty. That whisper is subtle. You have to be listening for it. Most of us have trained ourselves to ignore it, to eat until the external cue tells us to stop. The clean plate, the end of the episode, the bottom of the bag. Hara hachibu retrains you to listen to the internal cue. I ate about 20% less food across the entire month. My grocery spending dropped accordingly, but the real savings will compound over a lifetime in reduced healthcare costs. A 2021 study from the Okinawa Research Center for Longevity Science found that consistent hara hachibu practitioners had significantly lower rates of metabolic disease and a 17% lower lifetime healthcare expenditure. Eating less doesn't just save money at the supermarket. It saves money at the hospital. It saves money at the pharmacy. It saves money on the years of chronic disease management that have become the default American aging experience. Hara hachibu costs nothing. It pays dividends for the rest of your life. Number 16. They repair before they replace. There is a Japanese art called kintsugi, where broken pottery is repaired with gold lacquer, making the cracks a celebrated part of the object's history. The repair does not hide the damage, it illuminates it. The bowl becomes more beautiful for having been broken. This philosophy extends into everyday life. Things are fixed, not discarded. I had a pair of boots with a separating sole, a lamp with a frayed cord, and a backpack with a broken zipper. My American instinct was to replace all 3. Toss them in the trash, order new ones, enjoy the brief dopamine hit of a fresh purchase. Instead, I took the boots to a cobbler, a small shop run by an old man who had been fixing shoes for 40 years. He restitched the sole, polished the leather, and handed them back to me looking better than they had in years. I rewired the lamp myself with a $4 part from the hardware store, watching a tutorial online, feeling absurdly proud when the light flickered on. I took the backpack to a tailor who replaced the zipper for $12. Total cost to repair all 3 items was $41. Replacing them would have cost over $200. The repaired items now carry a story. The boots feel more like mine because I invested in saving them. The lamp is no longer just a lamp. It's the lamp I fixed. The backpack has a zipper that doesn't quite match the original color, and every time I see it, I remember the choice I made to repair instead of replace. In Japan, this is the norm. Repair shops thrive. Shoe repair, clothing repair, electronics repair, furniture repair. There is dignity in maintenance. There is an entire economy built around keeping things alive. I saved $159 that month just by asking, "Can this be fixed?" before I asked, "Where can I buy a new one?" The question is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Number 15. They live with less furniture. Walk into a traditional Japanese home, and the first thing you notice is the space. Tatami floors, a low table, some floor cushions, a futon that gets rolled up and stored during the day. There is no sectional sofa, no king-sized bed frame, No entertainment center groaning with gadgets. The emptiness is intentional. It makes the room flexible. The dining room becomes a bedroom at night. The living room becomes a guest room when someone stays over. It makes cleaning easy. You can sweep the entire floor in minutes because there's nothing to move. Nothing to vacuum under. No labyrinth of legs and bases and dust-collecting crevices. It makes you realize how much furniture you bought just to fill space. Just because the room looked empty and emptiness felt like a problem to be solved. I didn't get rid of my bed, but I did sell a bookshelf I never liked, a side table that just collected dust and old mail, and a chair nobody ever sat in. I made $130 from the sales, and my living room suddenly felt twice as large. More importantly, I stopped browsing furniture stores. I stopped fantasizing about the perfect rug or the accent chair that would finally make the room feel complete. The room felt complete because it was empty. The space itself was the luxury. The average American spends over $800 a year on furniture and home decor. The average Japanese household spends less than half that. Less stuff means more money and more peace and more room to breathe. I used to think a beautiful home was a full home. Now I understand that a beautiful home is a home where every object has earned its place. Number 14. They heat the person, not the house. Japanese homes are often poorly insulated by Western standards, and central heating is rare. Instead, Japanese families heat the person. They use kotatsu tables with built-in heaters and blankets. Low tables with a heating element underneath, and a heavy quilt draped over the top. You sit with your legs tucked under the quilt, and the warmth wraps around you like a cocoon. They use hot water bottles called utanpo, metal or ceramic containers filled with hot water and slipped under the blankets at the foot of the bed. They wear warm indoor clothing, thick socks, layered robes, and they accept that the hallway might be cold because you don't live in the hallway. In winter, my heating bill used to be obscene. I was warming an entire house just so I could sit in one room, just so I could wear a t-shirt indoors while snow fell outside. I turned the thermostat down to 60 degrees and bought a small electric blanket for my desk chair, a pair of thick wool slippers from a Japanese brand, and a heated throw for the couch. My heating bill dropped by $47 in a single month. I was perfectly warm. I was actually cozier than before, wrapped in my blanket cocoon with a cup of hot tea, the cold air making the warmth feel earned. The Japanese approach is to create microclimates of warmth around the body instead of trying to heat the entire air volume of a house. It's cheaper, it's more energy efficient, and it feels like being hugged. There's an intimacy to it, a nest-building instinct that central heating completely overwrites. When the whole house is the same temperature, you lose the pleasure of finding warmth, of creating warmth, of being warm in a specific, deliberate way. Number 13. They treat water like a luxury. In Japan, long, wasteful showers are considered almost disrespectful. The ofuro, the deep soaking tub, is a sacred ritual, but the water is shared by the entire family. You wash and rinse your body completely outside the tub before you ever step in. You sit on a small stool, you use a handheld shower or a bucket, and you scrub every trace of soap and dirt from your skin. The bath water is for soaking, not for cleaning. It stays clean because you enter it already clean. This means a single tub of hot water serves an entire household, each person taking their turn in the same water, the heat seeping into muscles and bones. I started taking shorter showers, turning off the water while I soaped up, and then treating the hot water as the precious resource it actually is. My water bill dropped by $19. My gas bill for water heating dropped by another $22. I also started collecting the cold water that runs while you wait for the shower to heat up, catching it in a bucket, and using it to water my plants, to fill the dog's bowl, to rinse vegetables. It felt absurd at first, standing there with a bucket, waiting for the water to warm. Then it felt deeply satisfying. I was no longer pouring drinkable water straight down the drain. I was using it, honoring it, giving it a purpose. Water is not infinite. It falls from the sky, and we treat it like it's nothing. The Japanese relationship with water, with bathing, with cleanliness, is a reminder that the things we take for granted are often the things most worth appreciating. Number 12. They buy in season and preserve the surplus. Japanese cuisine is intensely seasonal. You eat strawberries in spring, watermelon in summer, persimmons in autumn, citrus in winter. The seasons are not just a backdrop, they are the menu. When something is in season, it's abundant and cheap and at its peak of flavor. Then you preserve it. You pickle the radishes into takwan, bright yellow and crunchy. You dry the mushrooms on strings, concentrating their umami. You freeze the berries in single layers on trays before bagging them. You make jams and sauces and stocks. I started shopping at a local farmer's market and buying what was cheap and plentiful. In August, tomatoes were practically free. The farmers were almost giving them away. Boxes of heirlooms and Romas and cherry tomatoes. More than anyone could eat in a week. I bought a huge box, made sauce with garlic and basil, and froze it in portions. That sauce fed me through October. I saved roughly $60 on tomato products alone. The seasonal eating habit forces you to cook, which is cheaper than buying prepared food. And it connects you to the rhythm of the year. You start anticipating the first asparagus of spring, instead of mindlessly buying the same vegetables every week regardless of price or quality. You learn to eat what the earth is offering right now, not what the global supply chain has made available year-round. It's cheaper, it tastes better, and it makes you feel like you belong to a place and a time rather than floating in the eternal now of the supermarket produce aisle. Number 11. They use public transportation and walkable neighborhoods. Japan's cities are designed around trains, buses, bicycles, and feet. The average Tokyo resident walks over 7.0 steps a day just living their life. Commuting to the station, running errands, climbing stairs in the subway. They don't need to schedule exercise, because exercise is woven into the fabric of their daily existence. I live in an American suburb, so I couldn't sell my car, but I could change my defaults. I started biking to the grocery store, a 15-minute ride through quiet streets, the wind in my face, my heart rate elevated in a way that felt good. I walked to the post office instead of driving the half-mile. I combined errands into single trips instead of making multiple drives, planning my route like a delivery driver, optimizing for efficiency. My gas spending dropped by $41 in 1 month. My car maintenance costs will drop over time because I'm putting fewer miles on the engine, fewer cycles on the brakes, less wear on the tires. But the hidden savings were even larger. Walking and biking replaced gym trips. I canceled my gym membership and saved another $50. The Japanese model integrates movement into daily life, so you don't have to pay for it separately. You don't need a Peloton if you bike to work. You don't need a treadmill if you walk to the train. The exercise is free because it's not exercise, it's just living. Number 10. They embrace inamuri, the power nap. Inamuri means sleeping while present, and it's a culturally accepted practice of napping in public, at work, on trains. It's seen as a sign of hard work, not laziness. A person who falls asleep in a meeting is not being rude. They are demonstrating that they have worked so hard they can no longer stay awake. The financial angle here is subtle but powerful. Sleep deprivation makes you stupid with money. A 2023 study from the National University of Singapore, studying Japanese workers, found that sleep-deprived individuals were 34% more likely to make impulsive purchases and 28% more likely to choose expensive convenience foods over home cooking. When you're exhausted, your willpower collapses. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that makes rational decisions and resists temptation, goes offline. Your lizard brain takes over, and the lizard brain wants sugar and comfort and immediate gratification. I started taking a deliberate 15-minute rest in the early afternoon, not scrolling on my phone, not napping deeply, just closing my eyes and letting my brain idle. I would sit in my chair, set a timer, and let the world go quiet. My afternoon spending impulses, those Wednesday weak spots I mentioned, almost completely disappeared. The nap cost nothing. It took 15 minutes out of my day. The impulse purchases it prevented saved me an estimated $80 over the month. Sleep is not a luxury. It's a financial strategy. The most frugal thing you can do is be well rested. Number 9. They practice asogi, the big year-end clean all year long. Asogi is the traditional deep cleaning of the home before the new year. A ritual purification to welcome the coming year with a fresh slate. Every corner is swept, every surface is wiped, every drawer is emptied and reorganized. It's a massive undertaking, a reset of the entire domestic environment. But Japanese households don't wait until December. They practice mini asogi constantly. They declutter drawers on a random Tuesday. They wipe down walls when they notice a smudge. They air out futons on sunny days, hanging them over balcony railings to let the sunlight kill bacteria and freshen the fabric. A clean, organized home reduces what I call replacement spending. You don't buy duplicates of things you already own because you can actually find them. You don't let food rot in the back of the fridge because the fridge is clean and you can see everything. You don't buy organizing solutions because you don't have excess stuff that needs organizing. The organization is the natural result of having less. I spent a weekend doing a deep asogi on my entire house. I emptied every cabinet, every closet, every drawer. I found 3 unopened bottles of shampoo, 2 jars of peanut butter I forgot I bought, a gift card with $35 still on it, and a pair of gloves I had replaced twice because I couldn't find them. I essentially gave myself $70 worth of stuff I already owned. The cleaning itself cost nothing but time. The hidden cost of clutter is enormous. You buy things you already have. You let things expire because you can't see them. You feel vaguely stressed in your own home, which drives you to spend money escaping it. Asogi breaks that cycle. Number 8. They buy the best and own it forever. There is a Japanese concept called ikaiju sansai, 1 soup, 3 dishes, the foundation of a traditional meal. It's simple, balanced, and made of a few high-quality ingredients. The soup is miso. The 3 dishes might be a piece of grilled fish, a bowl of rice, and some pickled vegetables. Nothing is wasted. Everything is chosen with care. This philosophy extends to possessions. Japanese consumers tend to buy fewer things, but each thing is of exceptional quality, designed to last decades. I used to buy cheap pans that warped after a year, the non-stick coating flaking into my food. Cheap shoes that fell apart after a season, the soles separating from the uppers. Cheap furniture that wobbled and peeled, the particle board crumbling at the edges. I was spending more money replacing garbage than I would have spent buying quality once. I didn't replace everything in 1 month. That would defeat the purpose. But I stopped buying cheap replacements. When my spatula broke, I bought a single, beautifully made stainless steel one for $18 instead of a $5 I'd replace in 6 months. The weight of it in my hand felt substantial. The balance was perfect. I knew I would never need to buy another spatula for the rest of my life. Over a lifetime, the math is undeniable. A $200 pair of boots that lasts 10 years costs $20 a year. A $60 pair that lasts 1 year costs $60 a year. The cheap option is the expensive option. The Japanese frugal mindset isn't about spending less money. It's about spending money once. It's about respecting yourself enough to surround yourself with things that last. Number 7. They separate needs from wants with brutal honesty. In the Kakebo system, every expense is categorized, but the most important distinction is between needs and wants. The Japanese are culturally trained to be ruthlessly honest about this distinction. Your phone bill is a need. The newest phone is a want. Food is a need. A $14 avocado toast is a want. Shelter is a need. A guest bedroom that sits empty 360 days a year is a want. I sat down with my bank statement and a highlighter. I marked every transaction as need or want. I was shocked. I had been mentally categorizing at least 40% of my wants as needs. I needed new running shoes because my old ones were worn out. That was true. The soles were smooth, and my knees were starting to ache. But I didn't need the $160 carbon-plated racing shoes. I needed the $80 basic trainers. I saved $80 on that single decision. Across the month, honestly categorizing my spending, and then downgrading every want to its most modest version saved me over $300. The downgrade is not deprivation. It's honesty. You still get the thing. You just get the version of the thing that actually meets the need, not the version that was marketed to you by people who profit from your confusion. The line between need and want is blurry, and advertisers spend billions of dollars blurring it further. The Kakebo is a lens that brings it back into focus. Number 6. They cook at home as a form of love. Japanese home cooking, or washuku, is not a chore. It's an expression of care. Meals are prepared with attention, arranged beautifully, and eaten together. The average Japanese household spends about 15% of its income on food. The average American household spends about 11%, but eats out far more often, and the food is worse for you. The percentage is lower, but the absolute dollars are higher because the food is prepared by someone else, packaged, marketed, and delivered. I committed to cooking every single meal at home for 30 days. No takeout. No restaurants. No gas station breakfast sandwiches. The first week was hard. I had to plan, shop, chop, and clean. I had to think about what I wanted to eat tomorrow instead of just deciding in the moment. By week 2, I had a rhythm. I knew which meals I could make quickly and which ones were worth the time. By week 3, I was genuinely enjoying it. The ritual of preparing food, the smell of garlic and ginger sizzling in oil, the quiet satisfaction of eating something I made with my own hands. It replaced something I used to medicate with takeout. I wasn't just feeding myself. I was caring for myself. My total food spending for the month was $247. The month before, I had spent $612. I saved $365 just by cooking, and I lost 4 pounds without trying. The food I made was simpler, cleaner, less processed. My body responded. Cooking at home is the single most powerful financial and health intervention available to most people, and it costs nothing to start. Number 5. They cultivate a tadaima mindset, a home you want to return to. Tadaima means I'm home now, and it's called out when you walk through the door. The response is akari, welcome back. This ritual exchange frames the home as a sanctuary you genuinely want to return to. Someone is there to greet you, even if it's just yourself calling out to an empty room. The act of announcing your return makes the threshold sacred. If your home is a place you want to be, you spend less money escaping it. I used to spend money on bars, restaurants, movie theaters, and shopping trips simply because I didn't want to be in my apartment. It felt small, cluttered, and uninspiring. The lighting was harsh. The walls were bare. The corners were full of things I didn't like and never used. I spent a weekend transforming my space into somewhere I wanted to return to. I didn't buy anything. I cleaned every surface. I decluttered every shelf. I rearranged the furniture so the chair faced the window instead of the blank wall. I lit a candle I already owned. I played music instead of leaving the TV on as background noise. Suddenly, staying home felt like a treat instead of a punishment. I canceled 3 planned outings that I realized I didn't actually want to attend. I was just trying to avoid my own living room. The savings in entertainment and dining out that month were substantial, roughly $150, but the deeper shift was even more valuable. I started to love my home. I started to look forward to coming back to it. The Tadema ritual, calling out "I'm home," even when no one was there to answer, made the space feel inhabited, cared for, alive. Your home should be the cheapest place you can be happy. If it's not, you're paying a tax on your own dissatisfaction. Number 4. They practice mottainai with food waste. I mentioned mottainai earlier, but it deserves its own entry for food alone. The average American family throws away roughly $1,500 worth of food every year. That's a mortgage payment, a vacation, a semester of community college thrown directly into the garbage. In Japan, the food waste rate is significantly lower, partly because of cultural reverence for food, and partly because of smart systems. Japanese kitchens often have a designated "eat first" area in the fridge, a clear container or shelf for items that are about to expire. It's a visual reminder, a priority queue for your ingredients. I created one. I cleared a single shelf in my fridge and put a piece of masking tape on it labeled "Eat First." Every Sunday, I checked what was about to go bad and planned my meals around those ingredients. The wilted spinach became a soup, blended with a potato and some garlic. The leftover rice became fried rice for breakfast, tossed with an egg and some soy sauce. The single chicken breast became a topping for a salad. The half jar of pasta sauce got used as a pizza base. I threw away almost no food for an entire month. My garbage can was lighter. I took it to the curb less often. My conscience was lighter. I stopped feeling that specific guilt of scraping uneaten food into the trash. And I saved about $40 a week, $160 for the month, simply by eating what I already had before buying more. The "Eat First" shelf is now a permanent feature of my refrigerator. It's a small change with an enormous return. Number 3. They reject the upgrade cycle. Japanese consumers are famously loyal to products that work. They don't upgrade their phone every year. They don't replace their car every 3 years. The average age of a car on Japanese roads is over 9 years. In America, it's around 6. The Japanese relationship with technology is pragmatic. If it works, you keep it. You maintain it, you repair it. You don't replace it just because a newer version exists. I looked around my life and identified every upgrade I had been planning. A new laptop because mine was 2 years old and the battery life was slightly degraded. A new TV because the bezels were slightly thicker than the new models, even though the picture was perfect. A new coffee maker because I saw one with a built-in grinder that promised to change my mornings. All of my current devices worked perfectly. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. The laptop still ran all my software. The TV still displayed every show in high definition. The coffee maker still made hot coffee every morning. I canceled every planned upgrade. The money I didn't spend that month was over $2,000. Now I won't save that every month, but the mindset shift is permanent. The upgrade cycle is a trap designed to make you perpetually dissatisfied with perfectly functional things. It's a machine that runs on manufactured discontent. Stepping off that treadmill is one of the most powerful financial decisions you can make. You are not your phone. You are not your car. You are not the bezels on your television. You are a person who deserves to be free from the exhaustion of wanting things you don't need. Number 2. They practice shikata ga nai, radical acceptance. Shikata ga nai translates to, "It cannot be helped." It's a phrase used to accept situations you cannot change. And it has a profound impact on spending. So much of American consumer spending is driven by a refusal to accept reality. You're bored, so you buy entertainment. You're sad, so you buy comfort food. You're anxious, so you buy things that promise to fix the anxiety. You're comparing yourself to someone on Instagram, so you buy what they're selling. You're uncomfortable in your own skin, so you buy clothes and products and experiences that promise to make you into someone else. Shikata ga nai is the opposite of this. It's the practice of sitting with discomfort instead of spending to escape it. I started saying it to myself whenever I felt the urge to buy something I didn't need. Bored, shikata ga nai, sit with it. Let the boredom wash over you, it will pass. Anxious. Shikata ga nai, let the anxiety rise and fall like a wave, it will pass. The urge always passes. The discomfort is temporary. The purchase would have been permanent. This single mental shift saved me more money than any other habit on this list. I can't put an exact dollar figure on it because the purchases simply never happened. The urge rose, I acknowledged it. I said shikata ga nai, and I moved on with my day. The moment of wanting passed, and on the other side of it was just my life, unchanged. Uncluttered, unburdened by another object I didn't need. Radical acceptance is not resignation. It's not giving up. It's the clear-eyed recognition that some discomforts cannot be solved by spending money. And trying to solve them that way only adds financial stress to the original problem. The discomfort is free. The cure you're being sold is expensive. Just sit with it. Let it be. Shikata ga nai. Number 1. They see frugality as a path to freedom, not deprivation. This is the foundation beneath every other habit. In Japan, frugality is not associated with poverty or misery. It's associated with tidiness, mindfulness, and self-respect. The word setsuyaku means economizing or saving, and it carries a positive, almost noble connotation. It's about using resources wisely, not denying yourself pleasure. It's about aligning your spending with your values, not about never spending at all. The entire month, I never felt deprived. I felt lighter. I felt more in control. I felt like I was finally the one making decisions about my money, instead of being dragged along by advertising and impulse, and the silent, constant pressure to consume. My savings rate went from about 12% of my income to over 25%. My checking account balance at the end of the month was almost exactly double what it had been the month before. But the real transformation wasn't the number in my bank account. It was the silence in my head. The constant background noise of wanting, browsing, comparing, and acquiring had quieted. The mental chatter of "I need this, I deserve this will fix it," had faded to a whisper, then to nothing. I had everything I needed. I had known it all along. I just hadn't been listening. The Japanese approach to frugality is not a set of restrictions. It's a set of permissions. Permission to keep using what you already have. Permission to repair instead of replace. Permission to want less. Permission to be satisfied. There is a profound freedom in realizing that you don't need much to be happy. That the happiness was never in the next purchase, that it was here all along, waiting for you to stop looking past it. Try one of these habits tomorrow, just one. Try the cash. Try the list. Try saying shikata ga nai to the next urge that rises up and demands to be fed. See what happens. You might find, as I did, that the life you want is already waiting for you, hidden under all the things you thought you needed to buy. It's not about having less, it's about wanting less. And when you want less, you are in the truest sense rich.